All right, today I'd like to talk about this person named Tulsi Gabbard, who recently renounced the Democratic Party. And let's just see what's going on. Is this real? Is this just another psyop? Is this part of the plan? But I think this is a good case study that shows how the controlled opposition really works. Gabbard was the first Hindu member of Congress, first Samoan American. Now, I'm not so sure this person is Samoan. I do believe they lie about their race. Could be Filipino, could be Indian. I think this is actually a Hijra, which we'll look at in a minute. Elected to the Hawaii House of Representatives at the age of 21. That doesn't happen to most people. And then ran for president in 2020. Gabbard was raised in part according to the teachings of the Science of Identity Foundation. All right, now that sounds like a cult to me. A yoga religious organization based in Hawaii. Gabbard was basically raised in a cult, a Hindu cult. Gabbard embraced the Hindu faith as a teenager. All right, so the Hindu religion is basically the worship of demons. Let's just say it for what it is. Worship of the fallen angels who came to earth to deceive humanity. Her first name, Tulsi in Sanskrit, is the word for holy basil, which Hindus regard as an earthly manifestation of the goddess, Tulsi. And there it is right there. An earthly manifestation of a goddess. Well, there you go. That's what the androgynes are. At least that's what they believe they are. Started out studying television production, military service, Adam's apple. See, this probably would have been a handsome man, actually. This could be a Filipino guy. But what is a Filipino person? I think Filipinos are basically like a mix of Hispanic and Asian and island people. Anyway, so I think this is a Filipino. Gabbard was homeschooled through high school, except for 2 years at an all-girls SIF, which is this cult, boarding school in the Philippines. So kind of an unusual upbringing, I might say. Went off to a cult boarding school in the Philippines and kind of looks like a Filipino transvestite. I think they call them Billy Boys there in the Philippines. Whatever they are, lady boys. This is basically a Hijra. Now, what's a Hijra? As you know, you should know this by now, this is required knowledge for my channel here. Hijras are, well, they're basically transgendered people who live in communities that follow a kinship. They're tranny hookers, man, all right? That's what they are. They're Indian tranny hookers who worship the mother goddess. And they trace their history back thousands of years. Third sex, neither man nor woman. So this goes back to the ancient world. It's the same thing that's in the Bible, exactly. The Kadesh, which is translated as sodomite in the King James Bible. They're called male cult prostitutes in a lot of modern translations. All right, so let's look at a modern-day Hijra who works in politics and now seems to be working in the mass media. Maybe we'll get back into politics again. So I would basically file this one under controlled opposition and being a pretty good actor and a somewhat passable transvestite, actually. This is a man. You can see the Adam's apple. And it's got a male skull. I mean, it's got a rugged jawline, deep-set eyes with a prominent brow bone. I mean, if you're walking down the street in Manila and you saw this person, you'd be like, whoa, that's a dude. That's a lady boy. That's a Billy boy. Now, you may think that's an attractive woman. I would say it's kind of a handsome man, probably, is what this is. Probably could have been a handsome Filipino type of guy. Nice smile. It's the smile that disarms us. But if we look closely, we do see kind of a large person, first of all. We see the skin. There's some, I guess that's acne or something, or maybe this person used to have acne. Maybe that's why it was homeschooled in a cult and sent off to boarding school See, this one did not hang out with other school children. And look at the size of this person. You can see it's basically the same height as the two men on each side and taller than Klobuchar, who may actually be a real female. And here we see two Hijras actually running for president at the same time. We had not one, but two Hijras running for office at the same time. And we know one of the Hijras is now vice president. But you see the size, right? Member of Congress for Hawaii for many years. It's pretty obvious. I bet this one was a pretty obvious dude when it was younger. You can see the underlying man. The smile kind of disarms us. They learned how to smile in a somewhat feminine way. But the voice, we're going to listen to the voice of this person. It's basically the same pitch as my voice.
A lot of people who felt deeply moved.
It's got a low male voice. So this one didn't bother much with the voice training. But the acne, the skin. So you don't find that too often on women. It's quite common in men. But that jaw, that's a bulldozer jaw. And this one wears tons of makeup to cover up that skin. And that skin could be caused by hormones or some other feminization treatment. And probably got a nose job as well to make the nose smaller. The lipstick and the hair and the clothes and the feminine smile and mannerisms, this one fools people. All right, it's like an Asian Filipino kind of dude. Does a lot of this pointing up in a lot of these photos, as they all do. Perfect Hindu wedding with the thing on the forehead. That's what Billy Corgan wears now on his forehead. So this one mainly is pretty obvious in the face. If you look under the makeup, see that? That's like a handsome young man right there walking on the beach. I'm talking about the one on the right in the orange shirt. Oh yeah, look at that. Come on. Not so pretty now, are you? You got a nose job and you wear tons of makeup. All right, that's a dude. That's a transvestite. Oh yeah, come on. Look at that face. That's a man face. I think they must have done some work on the face now because it doesn't look that obvious sometimes. Says all the right things. Right? Says all the right things. I actually agree with a lot of what this person says, but that's how controlled opposition works.
Truth becomes whatever the people in power at any given moment want it to be. President Biden and his allies in Congress who are pushing us to the brink of nuclear war.
That would scare people. See, the main thing is they have to traumatize the public, keep people in a state of panic so that the people do not use their brain. Just like we lived through for the last 2 years, lots of fear and confusion. So people just stop using their brain, if they ever did use it to begin with, and they just do really stupid things. And that makes it really easy for the government to enslave the population and steer them in a certain direction. Maybe how this works is that they try to push us as hard as they can towards the communist and sodomite agenda, which is basically what the Democratic Party is all about, right? It's about communism and sodomy. So they've really been pushing that hard lately, and there is a backlash. Just normal people are like, whoa, come on. I don't want my child to be exposed to drag queens in their kindergarten class, right? I mean, that's just basic common sense. But they went for it, they went for it. They want us to comply with their sodomite communist agenda. And a lot of people are complying with that, but some people are not. So they pushed us really hard to the left towards sodomy, towards the androgyny agenda, and I think a lot of people have had enough. It would be much easier for them if there was no resistance, but there is resistance to their sodomite agenda. So that's why they plan ahead, and that's what the right is, at least the political right, the mass media right, is the controlled opposition for when people have had enough of the sodomite agenda, they're ready with the backup plan, which is the controlled opposition on the right or even in the center. So that's how they control the narrative at all times. They push people really hard to the left towards flat-out sodomy and communism, and then when people say, hey, man, we've had enough of this, they've got their backup plan, which is the controlled opposition on the right, which is this person here, one of them at least. This is kind of how the mass media and the political theater works. And meanwhile, they keep us all in a state of trauma and panic about whatever. Pandemic, nuclear bombs, meteors, climate change. And this person is literally showing us what's going on by switching to the right, or as an independent, more in the center. This person is actually playing out the narrative shift from left more back towards the center. The pendulum is swinging back the other way. And let's watch this clip again from AOC, who actually used to go by the name of Alex Cortez. I think Alex basically explains very well how politics works. He says politicians need to follow the will of the people. And that probably is true if they don't want riots and pushback and uncontrolled violence. They need to follow the will of the people. But what they do is try to control what the will of the people is through their narratives.
People think Congress and government is all about leading people, but ultimately a lot of our politics is about following the public will. And the people who change what people think are artists and drag queens. So
AOC literally tells us that entertainers and drag queens are the people who control the minds of the population. So what they do is they put the population under mind control, specifically trauma-based mind control and all kinds of other propaganda. And then that becomes the will of the people. But they created it in the first place. They're brainwashing the masses. And then they say, oh, we're following the will of the people. But they transformed the will of the people through their propaganda. Alex specifically says it's the drag queens who do it. What is a drag queen? A drag queen is a deceiving demon created in the image of the beast. Human beings are created in the image of God, to bear the image of God on earth. The drag queens are bearing the image of the beast, or their false gods. This drag queen right there has the word icon, which is Greek for image. This is the image of the beast. They are deceiving demons. So this Tulsi person, remember the word Tulsi is the name of the goddess. This person is channeling the goddess on earth. That's literally what the name means, as we saw before. The demon is manifesting on earth and is involved in politics and the mass media to control the minds of the population, to lead them astray. They want us all to burn in hell for eternity. That's really ultimately what they want. Our souls are immortal. We're going to spend eternity with God or without God. And the eternity spent without God is called hell. And it's a place of suffering and despair and darkness and punishment. A really horrible place.
I'm focused on here and now today.
Okay.
So
Any regrets?
None at all. The existential threat we face right now in this country is the threat of nuclear war. We won't have this conversation in a month because society will be finished.
Well,
the world will end as we know it.